Well, welcome everybody to Pastors Unfiltered. I'm not Pastor Brandon. I'm not Pastor Tony. My name is David. I'm the worship pastor here at Venture. Thanks for joining us. I want to welcome, I think, the greatest co-host that could have existed. Ventures / the AGs / One Voice International's very own Cole Chandler Hasty. Come on.
Wow, thank you. That's a really long introduction.
It's because you have a crazy resume, dude.
Yeah, whatever.
Come on, dude. You look good.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's my second time on the pod.
Come on.
And I get to be here with my friend David and our special guest. You want to introduce him?
Now we're going to pod out with, he's a legend, lead pastor of Tacoma Life Center, Pastor Tyler Sollie. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, it's good to be here.
You brought a great word today. We're going to have some fun today.
Yeah.
But before we dive in, we'll talk about our sponsors. We want to thank Logos Bible Software. If you want a discount and a hookup through Logos, email us. Do you know what the promo code is? I feel like we say a different promo code every time.
I think is it PB Sabbatical 20% or something like that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
it's not that. That was a joke, by the way.
I'm pretty sure it's #WeAreVenture.
There you go.
But if that doesn't work, email us. We'll get you 30% off.
Yep.
We also want to thank Rebecca and Sean King,
Hey.
King Size Movie Reviews. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out on YouTube. And I also want to shout out our incredible team that produces this every week.
There we go.
We got Judah Beals, come on, running the audio and sound effect master. We also have Brandon Greenwald,
Greeny.
the greatest creative director that's ever been. He's off limits because other churches watch this.
Right.
He's off limits.
Yeah.
Today we have a special guest, Pastor Tyler. How are you doing? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Come on.
Yeah.
You guys drove all the way here from Canada?
Well, not quite. Yeah.
Almost.
You make Tacoma sound like it's in another country. Yeah, just a little over an hour south of here. So we live in Tacoma, just outside of Tacoma in Gig Harbor.
Yeah. That's actually not that bad. At some point I'm gonna be like, I drove here from Yakima. It's a wild commute.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
Oh my
Can you
God.
imagine?
Oh my
Having to do
goodness.
that?
Oh my God.
Yakima's amazing though.
Yakima's amazing. They've got great Mexican food.
Shout out
the
to
best.
It's the Palm Springs of Washington. So
It is.
yeah.
Come on, don't do that to Palm Springs.
Have you
That's a
seen
good
the
place.
show Creek? I'm not cussing. That's a show name.
No.
Okay, well it's actually really good.
Really good.
It's like a combination of like The Office and like Superstore.
Yeah.
It's like you watch it in the background, but it's really funny, really engaging. Creek sign looks like the Palm Springs of Washington Yakima sign.
Really?
It's not good looking.
Yeah.
Last year, Amber and I, we went down to the real Palm Springs in California.
Come on.
And my middle son,
It's
who's
the Holy
just
Land.
so stinking funny, he goes, "Oh, you're going to the Yakima of California," and I was like,
Dang it.
"You are amazing."
That's quick.
Yeah.
Who does he get that from? You or Amber?
Amber?
Amber.
Yeah, definitely.
Shout
Definitely
out to Amber.
Does Amber really love Yakima?
Amber
Is that
loves
where you guys go on a little
sunshine.
getaway?
Amber loves sunshine, and she's proud of where she comes from. So yeah,
There we go.
Yeah.
You know, Yakima does get 300 plus days of sun.
that's right.
I'm pretty sure. It's a rumor.
You're right, because she actually just mentioned that stat, I think, like a day ago. Yeah, 2 days ago, something like
Well,
that.
there you go.
Yeah.
I'm literally moving to West Valley, like in a month and a half. It's
No way.
wild. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, my wife's going to medical school. It's pretty insane.
There
It's
you
pretty
go.
cool. Well, diving into today, Pastor Tyler, can you share about your church? You guys have a lot of really cool things happening. There's a lot of life at Tacoma Life Center. You guys have a school, the church, a retirement center.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's facility, a secondhand store,
Yeah.
That's cool.
a lot of things.
We should
Yeah.
thrift shop there. But tell us about it.
There's
Tell us all about it.
a lot going on. So Life Center is a little over 105 years old. Started in Tacoma in 1917 at the height of the Spanish flu pandemic.
Okay.
So when COVID hit, it was like, hey, we've already been here and done this before. And so, yeah, it's over the years, it has become a multi-campus, multi-location church, multiple languages. In addition to that, we have a pre-K through 12th grade school, a couple of retirement communities called Life Manor, and then some different things like our thrift store and different things kind of throughout the community. And so it's a church, but that church, the way that the ministry expresses itself kind of happens in a lot of different venues or different ways. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Is there ever like I need to get out of my office. Let me go hang out at the school, or let me go
Let me go visit a classroom.
Yeah.
Who's in detention right now?
Yeah.
Let me just
Yeah,
hop
where
in
do
on
you
that.
go when you have some downtime? If you have
Yeah.
downtime.
Every now and then I'll actually just try to go over and like walk through the school, and I love it because you got so many kids from so many different pockets of Pierce County, and opportunity to see the ministry through the different lens. I think, especially for those of us who work in the church, it's very easy to kind of think, okay, Sunday to Sunday, or systems or structure. But to watch the ministry kind of flesh itself out in different ways is kind of fun.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I feel like being able to step out of like the programming side of ministry is huge. So you have a pretty cool resume. You were a youth pastor, which means Pastor Tyler has a wild side. Every youth pastor does. So much so that they deemed him worthy of being the district youth director.
That's true.
At some point. Tell us some youth stories. We have Alex, a special guest. Alex, he's in the background.
Oh man,
He's making us a little coffee for a little tasting.
I'm excited for this. Yeah.
This is AG, so we're going to taste coffee.
Yep, that's right.
So Alex is going to bring that in whenever he's ready. It's unfiltered.
This isn't the
Except the
Foursquare where
coffee
there-
is
I love
filtered.
it.
This isn't the Foursquare. There's no rules. You can just do whatever you want, and
That's
there's no
not
accountability.
true. That's not true, dude. That's not true. But we're going to be tasting coffee. Coffee today. In fact, I asked if like, never mind, I'm not going to say this. I'm going to say it. I already started. I asked, well, maybe we should have like a cigar lounge in the church. And it was shut down really quick.
Yeah.
And then our executive
Shocking.
pastor told me it's actually against the handbook. And I was like, well, that's very confusing. But anyway.
There you go.
But you think Foursquare would allow it?
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Youth pastor days. How did we get there?
Yeah.
Youth pastor days. Tell us a wild story. Do you have a story about Alex?
Man, I have a lot of stories about Alex, but I mean, I remember Alex when he got his first guitar. So that's how long ago this is. I remember when he started playing guitar, started doing lessons, started playing on our worship team.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Alex was this quiet little kid, so shy in the back of the youth ministry. And then all of a sudden, you put a guitar in his hand and just like came to life. So it was so much fun. Story after story. I mean, so I was youth pastor at Eastridge Church in Issaquah for a little over 10 years. So Josh Jameson and I worked closely together.
Double trouble.
And,
Dude, can you imagine having those two guys?
Can you imagine that?
Like,
They're both insane looking. They're both
insanely
jacked.
good looking, good at everything. Like as a
Amazing
young
communicators.
male, what's your goal?
Like, I'm not going to play football with my youth pastor.
Yeah, nah.
He'll destroy me.
Whatever. Look, I'd get into guitar too if I had those two guys. Like, I'm not playing sports.
I have we're going to go like off script a little bit. Tyler, as you were preaching, like, are your arms tired from flexing the whole time? The Bible says, change.
I was sitting next to Sydney and I said, don't
Freedom.
watch him.
Freedom.
We can listen to it on the way home.
Yeah, we'll listen.
We'll listen to it on the way home.
When they release it as a
my
podcast,
gosh.
we'll just listen.
Next
Sorry.
time he preaches, I'm putting a jacket on him. That's too much.
I'll wear a sweater next time. I'll wear a sweater. Yeah.
I thought about my wife came to church, she came to the third service and I was like, babe, do you have she works in the ER. I was like, do you have your trauma shears? I think you need some space and open that up a little bit.
Oh man. Every now and then, last time I saw Josh, because he's like my best friend.
He's the best.
And that dude is so ripped.
So
it's
ripped.
Not even funny.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're listening to this, Josh Jameson, but you are jacked.
Yeah.
So
He probably is listening,
yeah.
and we will make a little clip of that to send to him.
Yeah. That's awesome. But man, probably one of the fun highlights for me when we were youth pastors back in that day. It's when The Office first came out. So the show The Office, so much gold, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so we decided to do this parody on The Office called The Modular, because our offices were in the modular, like outside.
Yeah.
And Alex.
Here we go.
We'll keep going.
It's our first tasting.
Why is one of them like,
It's it's decaf for me.
oh,
I'm so AG that I can't drink
Wait.
caffeine.
whoa,
This is coffee.
time out. Why is it in a,
Hey, we swear this is coffee.
this is, first of all, this is coffee. This looks like a Foursquare special is what that looks like. And then
My
this
uncle-
is, why is it so colorful?
So what? Alex,
Okay,
Tell us about it.
What is this coffee?
so this is a Proud Mary.
He said this is a Proud Mary.
It's a natural Panama.
Natural Panama. What kind of natural process?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think anaerobic as well. You should taste
Anaerobic.
the red grape, black currant, and brown sugar.
So
Please enjoy.
What just happened?
we're trying-
Hold on. Natural what?
It's a natural process.
Natural process.
So they let coffee comes in a cherry. Think of cherry.
Coffee comes in a cherry. The people can't hear you. Hear you.
Okay, so coffee comes in a cherry. And inside is the bean.
This
So they
podcast
gotta
is gonna be
remove
3 hours.
the cherry from the bean,
And the process.
and that's the natural process. You let it dry in the sun.
Pastor, cheers.
Oh wow.
And then also, these colors are unintentional for the month. These are the colors of
Yeah, these
Onyx
are
Coffee
brought to you by.
This has nothing to do.
Man, there's a lot of jokes here.
Nothing to do with the month.
Yeah. So please enjoy.
All right, cheers.
So
And the fact that it's called Proud Mary doesn't help either. I'll just throw that out there.
1 through 5.
you know what? I taste the cherry. Or no, sorry, the grape. That's what you said. And the
You don't have to lie to. There's no
currant. That's good.
This is good.
I'll
Thank you.
say a solid 8 out of 10, Alex. Good job.
I like this.
This is really good.
Thank you, Alex.
Is there more to come, or should we just do we need to chug this or no? Okay.
Take your time. Okay.
Thank you, Alex.
Come on.
Does Pastor Brandon ever have coffee on his podcast? Or is this just because Alex and I
He's
are
like
way
a
back?
rotation of
Yeah.
assorted beverages.
He really only does coffee like right before, like at 8:15. He'll text me and be like, "I need you to bring me my coffee." I'm like, I got you.
Iced Americano.
Iced Americano.
Black.
Yeah.
A stevia or 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or two.
And then he takes a drink and he's like, this is gross.
Yeah.
But he still gets it.
yeah.
So there we go. Okay, where were we?
This is really good. Thank you, Alex.
Where were we?
Josh
Jameson.
The Office.
Oh, The Office.
Yeah.
So The Office had come out. It was kind of a big show. And then so Josh and I decided to do this parody called The Modular. And so we sit down, we shoot all of these episodes, and we basically use it as kind of passive aggressive humor towards the students in our youth ministry about all the things. So like
That's great.
we did this one episode called Texting where I get injured from like straining a ligament in my thumb from all the text messages because we had these kids who were blowing up their cell phone bills back
Yeah.
then.
Oh, yeah.
Where
With the QWERTY
you're paying-
keyboards.
You're paying per text.
Yeah.
Anybody remember the Sidekick?
Yes,
You know,
I didn't have that.
thing.
Couldn't afford that one.
And so we would just use it as opportunity to kind of poke fun at kids without actually calling them out.
Yeah.
You know, so good
Good
times.
tool.
Yeah.
It's a good tool. Using the office to minister to the people.
ministers to me.
Gospel to
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you were a youth pastor, legendary youth pastor. A lot of my some of my friends were in your youth ministry. Colton Moreno,
Yeah.
he was in your youth
Yeah.
ministry. He loves you.
Dude, I love Colton.
I'm sure you have stories.
Oh, I got
sure you-
I got stories about Colton. For
Oh
sure.
my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, one camp in particular. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out if I should say it or not. Anyway, Colton got into a huge fight at a camp. It was like
like I've
it was a
heard
tough
this one.
moment, rough season. Yeah, but this is the fun part. When I first met Colton, he was super into rollerblading. Did you know this about Colton?
Rollerblading. And
I'm talking
skateboarding.
like wide leg Jinko jeans,
Oh my
like
goodness.
rollerblading chain, like grinding down the pipe type of thing, like
Hair covering is
rollerblading.
like-
Yeah, kind of the flat iron dashboard confessional bangs, all of it. And then like they started all these different bands. Like he and another kid, Nick Phillips, I think they named their band Blunder Bear.
Yeah, that comes with the territory. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
does that mean?
So it's kind of like when emo and
Yeah.
screamo and all of that, but Blunder Bear. Yeah. So Colton, if you're listening,
Wow, that's
Blunder Bear.
confusing. That's weird. Blunder Bear?
Blunder
Does that
Bear.
mean something? Is there something I'm missing?
Wow.
I think it just means whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think his youth pastor gave it to him.
Yeah.
Must have.
Probably.
That's awesome.
from
So,
The Office.
so not only did Colton get in a fight at camp, you probably had to call his dad, who was your coworker, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah. No,
Fun
he
season.
Colton's he was a good kid and it's so fun to watch. What I think I loved this most about youth ministry is remembering who they are today is not who they will be forever.
Yeah.
Right. It's the story of all of our lives,
Sure,
but
totally.
like to watch what these kids have kind of grown up into and who they are now is a lot of fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So you went from your youth pastor days to DYD. Tell us a little bit about the the DYD role and how that was probably ministry in a very different light.
Yeah. That transition was, so amazing, so unexpected on a lot of different levels. But stepping in after, you serve in the local church and you're kind of used to that 7-day rhythm, that 7-day cycle. And then all of a sudden you're on this like year-long carousel ride.
Yeah.
And so it's a total different kind of shock to your system and what ministry looks like. But we loved that season, being able to serve the churches of the Northwest Ministry Network, coming alongside of youth pastors, youth leaders, students, doing summer camps, doing conferences, leadership development. It was a fun time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. In your time as DYD, I'm sure you had to leading leaders and overseeing. How would you describe it? It's a role where you're pastoring or helping shepherd the youth pastors, while then providing through the resources of the network and churches coming together, incredible camp experiences, incredible youth conferences. So tell us a little bit about what it's like leading pastors and shepherding other pastors. Then and now, because now you're in a lead pastor role. You're overseeing the church, the school, all the different parts of the organization. You're a leader of leaders. Just talk about leading leaders.
Yeah, I think it was definitely such a highlight season for us to be able to come alongside of individuals who, like, God's put a dream in their heart, a vision in their heart, and how do we come alongside of that and help cultivate that?
Yeah.
And so our time serving in that network role, it gave you a perspective and appreciation of the body of Christ that, for me, like, just being at one location for so long, it's easy to begin to create like assumptions of, oh, this is just how it works. But you see the diversity of the body of Christ as you're traveling to different areas, right? You're like in rural settings, urban settings, suburban settings, and you're seeing this beautiful tapestry of what the kingdom is.
Yeah.
And then coming alongside of leaders to hear, how is God like cultivating what he's put in your heart? How do we help maximize that? How do we encourage you in the midst of this? I think that was some of the joy, is to be able to sit across the table from, a youth pastor and just be able to breathe life when maybe they're going through a tough season, or maybe they feel like, their leadership structure is kind of challenging in that moment, but like helping to just breathe that life into them like others had done, to me throughout the years. And so I think, I look back at that time as we served the network with such joy, because we saw things that we would otherwise not see. I remember one time we spoke this youth event. It was, so if you've ever been to Wenatchee, like think Wenatchee, and then drive 2 hours north of Wenatchee. So I mean, you're like
the middle,
way up in the Okanagan, and just such a cool moment to be able to drive into this church and speak at this event where multiple youth ministries had come together. And I remember driving away from that moment. Amber was with me, and I remember saying, man, God, thank you for this opportunity, this moment, because you're way out kind of what feels like, the middle of nowhere, but God is continuing to move his kingdom, his plan, his purpose forward. And what's working there might not work where I was in Issaquah, but like God's got a plan and a purpose in each context.
That's good. That's good.
And I think, you kind of asked now as a senior pastor leading leaders, I think that same heart is there, like coming alongside of our campus pastors or people who are leading different charges in the ministry. It's like, what has God put in your heart? And how does that align with the vision and the mission of where we're trying to go? And how do we maximize that and cultivate that? We talk a lot at Life Center. We have this phrase. I don't think it's unique to us, but I say to every staff member, hey, we want more for you than from you.
That's good.
And trying to lean into that, whether it was as network youth directors, just encouraging, trying to bless youth pastors, youth leaders, student ministries. Man, I remember speaking at camp for Venture. It was a winter camp up in Leavenworth, and just like the joy of seeing all of these churches in different contexts and moments. It's just there's nothing quite like it.
That's good. I love that. That's totally relatable. Like I can see myself doing that as a husband. I could see my wife doing that for me, just finding that potential, pushing me to grow in those ways. That's really good. What would you say was the hardest part of your transition from DYD into ministry at another local church?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest challenge is, you step back into that 7-day cycle and you realize like no matter what happens during the week, Sunday's coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So like if your world blows up, like,
Yep.
Ed who's showing up doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's expecting Sunday to deliver. And so getting used to that rhythm, I think stepping into a new chapter, like after we were done as network youth directors, we moved to Tacoma where I grew up. So I was born and raised in Tacoma. I grew up at Life Center. So my parents met at Life Center in the 70s.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Got married there. It was the only church that I knew until I started working at Eastridge.
Wow.
And so like that was a crazy journey.
Yeah. Well, that means he's big time. His first job was Eastridge.
He's set apart.
Come on.
Dude.
I love it.
I just started serving my freshman year
Of course.
of college.
Come on.
So
praise
you were there
God.
with like Fulton and all those guys.
At Life Center. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Fulton set up
He was my senior
Ron and
pastor.
Talia. I didn't know your parents got married there.
Yeah.
That's where my folks got married.
Yeah.
Come
yeah.
on.
Yep. So your parents were introduced by Pastor Buntain back in the day.
Is Alex? Oh, Alex is in here. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a sidebar.
There you go.
Alex is here.
He's sitting down there.
I learned this. My mom told me this a couple years ago. My mom was single, and Alex's dad worked at the church. They went on a couple dates.
Whoa.
Just saying.
Talia?
Yeah.
With
Talia and Andy.
Did you
with
know
Pastor
this?
Andy?
You knew that.
Yep. Could have been brothers.
Could have been brother.
Could have been brothers. Could have been
Whoa.
brothers.
Okay.
I don't know if genetically that statement
Cole's
makes
getting
sense,
unfiltered.
but yeah.
I just thought I'd get it out there.
There we go.
I just thought that was funny.
So that's rad. That's really cool. You then transition. So you transition to Life Center. You're on staff there as a campus pastor at first.
Yeah. We stepped in to oversee a campus that had been planted about a year and a half earlier.
Okay.
And there was a leadership transition there. And so we stepped into a setup teardown campus. It was meeting at Baker Middle School on the east side of Tacoma. So it was called Life Center Baker. And jumped in. That was 2015. So
Wow.
like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
a little
wild.
over 9 years ago now. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You then transition into the lead pastor role. Bittersweet.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about taking a church in a tough season. We here have faced tough seasons, but we've been able to, retain our lead pastors. But stepping into a role like that in a tough season, that has got to be challenging. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. One of the things that I've learned, I think, through the journey, you see the beauty and the resiliency of the body of Christ. Like Jesus is so faithful to do what he said he was going to do when he said he will build his church. But stepping in, in the midst of chaos, I've described it this way. It was almost like stepping into a triage situation where you're just like, you're doing chest compressions, like just trying to keep the heart beating.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like for the first almost year. So that was 2018. By about November 2019, it felt like some of the dark clouds were moving. It's like, okay, here we go. Here we go. And just like some cool moments, some vision opportunities. And I jumped on a plane in the end of January of 2020, went to Calcutta, India, came back, and we landed in Singapore to change planes. And I realized the world had changed because we were greeted with like people doing temperature scans on our head.
Wow.
And there was this thing called COVID that was starting to break out. And obviously, as we know, a few weeks later, it hit Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you had the journey of 2018, 2019, and then COVID hits in 2020. And, all of us were thinking, hey, like we'll be back for Easter.
Yeah,
Here we go.
yeah.
And we had to walk that journey of figuring out how do you take this historic church that at that point for decades has been very much like an attractional model of like open up the doors, like bring the people in.
Yeah.
And how do you pivot and feel connection with people when you're kind of isolated, spread out, and just that journey of finding that line. I think every pastor that I've talked to, especially on the West Coast, felt a very similar thing, realizing no matter what decision you make, you're going to tick off multiple groups of people. So I remember earlier seasons of my leadership where I would make a decision and I knew who it was going to tick off. Now in COVID, no matter what decision you make, you're going to tick off both sides because you're not being aggressive enough or you're being too aggressive.
Yeah.
Like no matter what you did and walking that line
and you were brand new to this role. So
Right.
you already have to walk the line of making changes is difficult because you're the new guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. In a weird way, though, COVID actually turned out for Life Center to be a little bit of a blessing because instead of focusing on the battles of 2018, it kind of unified us on, okay, how are we going to charge through this?
Yeah.
And I think I shared with our history of Life Center, it started during the Spanish flu pandemic.
Yeah.
And so to be able to stand up in front of our church and remind them, hey, we've already been through a global pandemic as a church. This is already in our DNA.
Yeah.
We've survived one. We got this.
That's amazing.
God's with us. So, walking that journey through COVID and then kind of coming out the other side of that and really becoming a new church. It's still Life Center. We still got our history, our legacy, like the foundation. We thank God for it.
Yeah.
Those who have gone before us.
Yeah.
And we thank God even for the beauty and the mess of even recent years because he uses it all.
Sure.
But now on the other side of that, Life Center is truly like a new place, new direction, new vision, new passion, but also like same heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's really about Jesus and about the work that he's wanting to do in and through our lives.
I love that. I love that. What do you feel like in all the changes that you've seen in the church, maybe from 2020 to now, what are you most grateful for? Like what shifted, what changed the most that you are now like, wow, we're reaping a benefit here. We're reaping harvest.
Yeah. I just think a deep authenticity. There's always pros and cons with like any type of strategy or system you approach, right? So a lot of people, they have like an attractional church model. But if that's not tethered with like a deep conviction about authenticity, it can become about the production, the performance, what's going on stage. And to me, I think the most beautiful thing is to see the depth and the authentic hunger and passion that it's not just like a Sunday morning experience, but this is something that we live day in and day out.
Yeah.
And we're all on this assignment together. We close like every gathering in a very similar way. It's kind of like our charge. I remind our church, like, hey, we don't dismiss church, we send the church. Because even though like this gathering's going to be over, and we say it every week, and the whole church kind of like, we say it. We don't just go to church, we are the church, and everybody kind of says we are the church, and that's like the last moment before they head out into work on Monday or whatever life's going to throw at them on Thursday. And so to me, I think the deepening of some of that understanding of who we are as the body of Christ, and even just the journey of trying to deepen like biblical literacy and awareness of Scripture and our commitment to discipleship, because we want to be a church that reaches wide, like absolutely. That's what the Great Commission calls us to do.
Yeah.
To go. But the key part as well is to go and make disciples, not just help make decisions. And so, we want to help people make decisions for Jesus, but once we've reached them, we also have to build them. And so seeing that begin to flesh itself out, and instead of it just being like a vision of the senior leader, it being embraced by the staff, but even more than the staff, the congregation, to me, those are the joys of enduring the challenges, hanging in when, I remember since this is Unfiltered, I remember my low point during COVID. Like literally everything is crazy every day. Like I get emails from multiple directions of like, this and that. And, you know, if you were a man of faith, I remember receiving this letter from this anonymous group of people. I love anonymous letters, by the way.
Yeah.
Like there's some free information. If you're going to say it, just
say
like
it.
attach your name to it. Don't send your pastor anonymous letters, please. But somebody anonymous was like, you're polluting our faith and you have no faith and blah, blah, blah. And I found out who sent it. So I called them all into this meeting room at our church. And I just looked at them. I said, you guys know where I'm at every Sunday. I stand in the foyer before and after every gathering.
Yeah.
Like I'm out amongst you. So this could have been a conversation.
Yeah.
So number one, like, just come talk to me. Two, you say that I don't have faith, but I'm type 1 diabetic. And so if I'm listening to all of the news, all of this, all of that, I should be bunkered at home, like nobody talking to me. But like I'll fist bump if they want me to fist bump. I'll hug. I'll do whatever. Yeah. Like I didn't do the whole shoe kick. Remember that thing during COVID? That was,
elbow touch.
That was
Do
weird.
not kick my shoes.
Yeah.
These are David's stage shoes, by the way.
But I remember just looking at these individuals going, hey, like you say I don't have faith, but every day, like I haven't backed off on the calling, you know, that God has given me. And, you know, so that journey of trying to bring people along and help them, you know, in that journey, I think is significant. I totally went on a random tangent. I was going to say, I was going a different direction.
That was good.
Went on that letter.
That was good. I mean, I think that kind of, I mentioned something at lunch. It was, what would you say? What would you say to a church or your friend's church? So Pastor Brandon has been doing ministry in the Northwest for like 3+ decades.
Yeah.
With a season in California, but you guys have been doing ministry, maybe not right alongside of each other, but definitely around each other in the same region, crossover within the same denomination, your network involvement and whatnot. Yeah. What would you say to your friends, like your friends' congregation, the parishioners? What would you say to Pastor Brandon's church along those lines?
Yeah. I mean, something that I would say to somebody else's church, I'd probably not say it to my church.
Totally.
But there's this assumption, like because your pastor is up on a stage, that they're getting enough encouragement. And here's what I know. I've never met anybody who said, you know what, I've been too encouraged today.
Yeah.
I've had too much encouragement. Just like knock it off. I can't take any more. Everybody needs encouragement. Yeah. And often I'll see people, sadly, like they leave churches and they don't take time to either communicate that or like speak truth, or they bottle up all of their stuff until they leave. And then they just like lay it all out on Facebook because everybody knows that's the most edifying social media platform in the world. You know, and so I would just encourage people, man, like go out of your way to just speak life, to pray for your pastor, to speak words of encouragement, because it goes a long way. It goes a long way, and and there's a spiritual weight that they shoulder, that they carry.
Oh yeah.
You know, even when they're not on stage, there's stuff at work and at play.
Totally.
And so I don't know. I think especially in light of leading churches on the West Coast, specifically in the greater Seattle area. Yeah. I know Pastor Brandon has, I love this idea. Like I found God in Seattle, and, you know, we were chatting a couple of weeks ago just about some of the articles that have come out recently about Seattle being the least churched area, least likely. And I loved his vantage point, his perspective of, hey, this is so good that this is documented, because when revival hits, nobody's going to be able to deny this reality. And I'm like, man, that's such good, healthy perspective. But understanding like this is always kind of this uphill journey with resistance.
Yep.
Totally.
So go out of your way, and you don't make it authentic. Don't make it like, oh, pastor.
Right.
You know, be real. But those words of encouragement go so far.
Yeah. I love the challenge that you gave our church. Like, why don't you just like write a note? Yeah. Write a note, send it, write a note, drop it off. Heather will make sure it gets a PB. Tina.
Yeah. Definitely don't make it anonymous.
Yeah. I think one of the craziest things is that, as just kind of speaking candid, as a church staff member, you hear stories, not all of the stories, but you hear kind of what, like the blows that your pastors take.
Yeah.
I feel like Cole and I both have been in the room together, like hearing some hard stories, but it's no joke. And I feel like people, when you just attend a church, you're a part of a church, you're serving at a church, you might even catch a glimpse of it. But I do not envy the lead pastor role.
Nope.
Like that's a hard job. It's a hard job taking over a church in a hard season, or just having a church that goes through a hard season. It's hard. It was hard to be a pastor during COVID. It's hard to be a pastor post-COVID. At lunch, we were laughing about how all the people that went to our friends' churches in Idaho and Montana, and they inherited all these these amazing
COVID
people.
didn't exist over there.
Come on.
Man.
Yeah.
But it's hard from people leaving to a couple podcasts ago. I was talking to Pastor Brandon. We were talking about a family or a couple families that left the church post-Christmas. We did this, like, we had a stage in the middle of the room. We'll never do it again. No big deal. I learned my lesson. But they left because it was just like the service felt like it was way too much of a performance. And I mean, that was, I don't know, PB took that on. He's the leader. Everything rises and falls in leadership. But like that very small thing, like honestly, in the grand scheme of the problems or the things that pastors face, that one hit me. I was like, man, that was my call. Yeah. And Pastor Brandon took the brunt of that. Pastor Brandon's the one that like sat in the meeting, or had the conversations. But pastors have really hard jobs, primarily because of the part of the job that they love the most, and that's the people.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting how like the thing or the part of your life that you love the most could also almost hurt you the most.
Yeah.
That being said, what do you think is post-COVID, post-transition now? You guys are focusing on groups and discipleship. That's what Amber was sharing. What do you think is the number one part of people struggling to get plugged in church? And not only, I know discipleship is way more than just community, but I think community and discipleship and that, small group type growth happens hand in hand. And I've found a lot of people, actually, Cole, you could probably speak to this. A lot of people end up maybe like not sticking at a church or, this church, for example, because they are struggling to get connected. And I think our response is always like, you got to just sign up for a group and you've got to just go. You'll grow in relationship and then you'll grow in your walk with Jesus. Yeah. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. It kind of comes down to a little bit of what I talked about this morning. Every significant change starts with a decision. Yeah. And the dynamic, the challenge with, I think, the church finding that sense of connection. The church can offer things, but there's got to be the decision of partnership.
Side, right.
It's both sides. The church isn't just something that serves up content for you. The church, at the end of the day, isn't even an organization, although there is structure. The church is people. And people, Scripture's clear. How can two walk together unless they're in agreement? There's got to be a decision to journey together. And so Venture can offer stuff. Life Center can offer stuff. We can create groups, classes, spaces, but there's got to be that decision on the individual to say, I can't do this alone. Yeah. I need to be in community. And there's got to be that awareness, even when it's hard or even when it's outside of our comfort zone, right? For those of us who have ever taken that step to like get to know somebody and we started dating, then we got engaged, then we got married, like each one of those steps, there's like a little bit of risk involved because like, well, what if? And the same's true when it comes to engaging in the body of Christ. It might feel risky, but the reward on the other side of the risk is always worth it. Yeah. Because you're able to get yourself in spaces and places where you're known. I think it's one of the great challenges of the world in which we live, because social media creates this illusion of connection, but it's not authentic connection. Yeah. Because it's often a caricature of who we are or who we want to be, versus one of the deepest desires in our humanity is to actually be known, authentically be known, and to be loved for who we are. And the beautiful thing is, in the body of Christ, you can find that. Mm-hmm. Like you can find a sense of belonging, even with all of the failures, fractures, flaws that we all have. Because of the grace of Jesus, I can belong, and he continues to transform me, and he does that in community. Yeah. I think one of the great challenges we face, though, in this subject, in America, our idol is individualism. Like it is the driver. It's the autonomous self. And so I want to be a self-made person. I want to call the shots. I want to be significant in and of myself. And there's a humility that comes when I recognize I can't do this on my own. Yeah. I need community. I need others. I need the gospel. And the gospel is offensive. Let's be honest. The gospel literally goes, you can't do this. Yeah. You in and of yourself, you're not enough, but that's okay. Yeah. Because Jesus is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
So
I love that. And I think sometimes we find resistance and it's so easy to like hold a shield up and be like, well, it's not me, but it's sometimes we're just resisting. It's not, nobody wants to talk to you or you can't, it's mostly just in your head. It's mostly just internal.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. All right, let's start landing the plane a little bit here.
Okay.
Can we get more lighthearted for a second?
Yeah, please.
So it's kind of intimidating sitting in a room with,
Here we go.
you got Pastor Tyler.
Here we go.
There's like guns ablazing. It looks, you're
So
like
silly.
29?
Yeah. 45.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I just turned 45.
Wow.
Halfway to 90.
And you're type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
You're thriving. Oh my goodness. And then we've got Pastor Cole over here. My mom used to work at the church and she called him Pastor Cute.
Hey.
Pastor Cute. Not my words, my mom's words. They've both got their timepieces on. They've both got their buttons unbuttoned and everything. Here I am trying to be modest. Oh my goodness.
Do you want me to button up a couple?
No.
Okay.
You don't feel like you have to
Don't
do that
ask
for
him
me.
what he wants you to do because
I'd say go one more. If you're gonna go in, go in. Dude.
There you go.
Hey, it is Pastors Unfiltered. So
There was once where Cole like unbuttoned one of my buttons once. I had two undone and he unbuttoned one like in the lobby or something. I was kind of going about my Sunday, and then I looked down and I'm like, oh my, that's messed up.
Was it after the worship set?
It was not after the worship
Definitely
set.
not.
I just want to know, like, how quick are his hands to be able to unbutton a button and you didn't notice it?
I just think I was probably like mid-story telling a joke or something. I was distracted. He came in.
You got hands of a surgeon.
Come on, a Jezebel
Amazing.
spirit.
Okay, that's enough. You're done. You're done.
You're out of line.
You're out of line.
Oh my goodness.
You could have worn that kind of shirt at a Foursquare church, maybe just not in an AG
Whoa.
church. So
Well, I got to remember context, read the room. So
that's right.
it was really fun having you at church this morning.
Great to be here.
We do something called lobby moments.
Yeah.
Lobby moments are you share a moment during your Sunday that was funny. So like my lobby moment last week was the fact that I led worship in like the second service for like half of the worship set with my fly down.
Yes.
Just completely down. Do you have a lobby moment this week?
I wasn't the one who did that, by the way.
Oh,
Okay.
you're out of line, dude. That was
I didn't.
Yeah.
that was messed up, dude.
A lobby moment this week. Not one that
Is
I
it
can
this
share
week or is it
here.
like-
Not one that you can share
not,
here.
Not one that I can share.
Oh my
I did have
gosh.
one this morning, but it was helpful, but it was one of those conversations of like, oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
We'll just
but-
go with
but a
like
cool-
you got
a
to see a
cool-
bunch of friends.
Yeah, cool lobby moment. We got to pray with a gal after the first gathering, so in between the first and the second, and it was clear like God was just speaking to her today, and so Amber and I we got to pray with her in between
awesome.
gatherings in the lobby. So
awesome.
like that's kind of fun as a guest. You don't always get that level of interaction, but to just be able to encourage somebody in the midst of their journey was really sweet, really special. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Something I'm going to talk a little bit about Pastor Brandon, Pastor Di. I'm going to give you something to think about. I want to hear what you're reading right now,
yeah,
what you're listening to, maybe podcast wise or music, and then what you do for fun. So while you think about that,
yeah.
we want to just honor our pastors, Brandon and I, Beals. We miss you guys so much.
Yeah.
Cole misses them so much.
That. Oh, I thought is that a that?
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
There is. I text Pastor Di quite a bit. Yeah.
It's so hard. It's like we're not supposed to reach out for work reasons.
Right.
So we reach out personally. But no, we honor our pastors. We love our pastors. They deserve this time away and together so much. So we love them. We miss them. I want to honor Pastor Tony, who's actually the host of this podcast.
True.
Pastor Tony is officiating a wedding.
Nice.
He's doing what pastors do.
Venture Seattle.
Venture Seattle.
Shout out
It
Venture
is-
Seattle.
It is thriving.
Come on, Tony.
It is so cool. They're
Shout
like
out
10 or
Tony.
11 weeks in.
Yeah.
I've gone like 4 or
Love
5
it.
times, and it is so cool. The thing that blows my mind the most is that out of nowhere they launched this church, and they did like some promo, some outreach. But it is so cool meeting new people.
Yeah.
Like there's like a ton of people that I know, but when half of the room are at church for the first time,
Come on.
it is one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
Okay, Pastor,
Love
what
it.
are you reading? What are
Yeah.
you listening to? And what do you do for fun?
Oh man, such great questions. I love reading. It's one of the things that I enjoy. I'm almost done with Patrick Lencioni's latest book called Working Genius. So cool perspective. There's another book. I forget the name of the author. It's called Five Voices. So similar about like leadership teams and the voice that shows up in the meetings and being aware of your voice, but also the voice of others and creating space. So again, if you're a leader trying to create collaborative space in your leadership culture and making sure that you got the right ingredients in the room for decision making and not just everybody seeing everything exactly the same. Those two books have been great. I've also, thanks to my wife, a little over a year ago, I've really started reading fiction before I go to bed. So this is crazy.
Yeah.
So
Are you in book club?
No. It's not like weird like that or anything. But sitting down and because like for the last few decades, all I would read would be like leadership or theology or Christianity or pastoral or what. And it's always just like boom, boom, boom. And my brain is always going. And a little over a year ago, before we moved, we actually had a drive-by shooting at the house next door to us. Wow. And so like we weren't sleeping at all. And Amber was doing all this research and she was like, hey, we need to read fiction before we go to bed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Fiction? And so I started doing it and man, it's crazy. Like every night I'll open up my Kindle, I'll read a few pages, and it used to take me hours to wind down at night. And now my brain, it just like kind of settles down and I'm out. And so,
Wow.
The books are that bad. They just put you to sleep.
no, like I've read some great books, like just finished a few books that I've recently just finished outside of like, leadership or culture books. Boys in the Boat, great read.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same author, but a book called Facing the Mountains, like phenomenal, World War II. And then before that, I finished the entire anthology of Sherlock Holmes. So like, like thousands of pages or whatever, but like just kind of
wild.
Nerding out and like letting your brain kind of calm down. And I've been sleeping so good.
That's awesome.
That's cool. I'm going to try that.
Yeah. So
Can't sleep at night? Who needs?
There you go.
Who needs melatonin?
yeah. No. Try it.
Or Benadryl?
Yeah. Not Benadryl.
Definitely not both of them together.
Yeah.
either.
Whoa, I didn't say that.
Okay.
All right, what are you listening to?
Foursquare.
Okay, guys. Oh, okay. We're finally getting unhinged. Here. Yeah. Stirring the pot.
There you go.
What are you listening to?
Listening to, oh man. I mean, podcast wise, I'm not a huge podcast. I mean, obviously, Pastors Unfiltered.
You've listened to every episode. I think
Every
is what
episode.
you said.
I actually got a tattoo.
Yeah.
But
Whoa.
no, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Let's go.
Pastor Brandon's face.
They couldn't fit it on.
He got a fight pastor tattoo.
He couldn't fit it on his
Awesome.
bicep though. They had to find a different muscle.
Dude, and that's wild because his bicep is so big.
Exactly. Yeah, dude.
But man, one podcast that I think everybody needs to listen to, especially like if you're in leadership or specifically ministry leadership. Carey Nieuwhof, about a month or two ago, recently interviewed Craig Rochelle.
Okay.
And it was one of the best conversations I've heard in a long time.
Wow.
Craig Rochelle made the point, if you consider policy in your organization, it's organizational scar tissue. In other words, it's there because something went wrong.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so thinking through like not just reacting to where you've been, but who you're trying to become.
Yeah.
And he talked about the longer an organization exists, it always drifts towards complexity, not simplicity. Super helpful thoughts.
Because PB loves Craig
Huge.
Rochelle. Like, it's like his idol.
Yeah.
Well, and Carey Nieuwhof.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of
Wasn't
Carey.
like a couple months ago, I think he spoke about that. Like he kind of talked about that in our staff meeting. It was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Super, super good. If I'm just listening to music,
Here we go.
Red Hot Chili Peppers?
no. But punk rock for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for worship,
Alex knows that.
Is that
It's
Colt
one
Marino's
voice, right?
band? Yeah.
What's that?
And then
one voice
one
for
voice
sure.
worship?
For
Strictly.
sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Without a doubt.
We'll cut you your check later.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my
One Voice
goodness.
International.
Thank you.
Check them
Dude,
out.
big
Shout
time.
out.
They're on
Let's
Instagram
go.
too.
Shout out.
Yep.
What do you do for fun?
Man, love hanging out with my wife. honestly, I know that might sound cliche, but we authentically love hanging out together. The age and stage that our kids are, we have 17, 15, and 13-year-olds. And so spending time with them, like doing family things. I'm a really simple person at the end of the day. I love being with family, love having good times, but I do CrossFit. So like I enjoy that. I'm in the gym.
Man, that's no joke
most
either.
days.
That's hard
and
stuff.
so that to me is like life-giving, and it also I think keeps me sane. So like I'm up early, my first stop at 6 a.m. I'm in the gym, and so I enjoy that. That's fun for me. Now that the summer is coming back in the Northwest, Amber and I, we love paddle boarding during the summer.
Oh,
and
come on,
getting
my
out,
people.
Getting out on the harbor and doing that.
The harbor?
Yeah, Gig Harbor.
Oh.
Yeah, saltwater.
I was like, dude, where the containers get shipped?
no.
I was like, you guys are really
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, big old ship.
Well, you got
just
like 2
passing
motors,
by.
dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I also heard you like kind of you walk through the church.
Just doing
Some
curls.
dumb-
Yeah,
Dumbbells,
just
doing
biceps for no
curls.
reason.
I know,
There
I
you
know,
go.
I know we're wrapping up. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I think you guys should ask this to everybody, by the way.
Oh,
What is the outside perspective of venture? Like,
oh,
man.
that is an
like
amazing
what
question.
do people, I know. Yeah.
Oh, that's dude.
I'm saying.
Here's the pot. Here's the pot.
Stir it.
Let's stir it.
Eat it up. What's the outside perspective? What do people say? Good and bad? Like, I'm just curious.
Oh yeah.
Unfiltered.
So you're not just my outside experience, but outside perspective.
Yeah, or whatever.
I mean,
yeah.
so here's the beautiful thing. I've known Pastor Brandon and Pastor Di for a long time. I've known, Morgan, Tony, like so many of the team I've known for a long, long time. And so the nice thing about social media is you feel like you have a pulse, a little bit of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so seeing what God has done in even shaping this new facility, and I know this is just one location of multiple locations for you guys, but I love the tenacity and the vibrancy that I sense in the spirit of venture. Like, we are going to take ground for the kingdom. We're going to partner with the Holy Spirit to lean in to see the kingdom established throughout, this region and even beyond. Because I know Idaho, right, and Spokane, like, it's just beautiful to watch what God is doing. To actually show up and be a part, because I think this is the first Sunday that I've been at Venture. As I mentioned, like years ago, I did like a winter camp or some youth services or whatever. But to be here in person and see the heart and the spirit of this place, that I know, like, knowing what I know of Pastor Brandon and Pastor Di, like, I had some assumptions, like this is gonna be a place that's like passionate in worship for Jesus. It's gonna be excellent. And man, the spirit of excellence that you guys have is beautiful to see, because it honors God, but also it makes people feel like they're a part of something that's not kind of half-baked or an afterthought. So from the facility to the details of the gatherings, I mean, it's beautiful what God is doing.
It's awesome. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
you guys
awesome.
are taking ground, man. It's
Come
awesome. I love
We
it.
just want to make Jesus famous.
That's right.
Come on.
plug.
I was kind of expecting something a little more dramatic.
My question?
No, like the response.
Oh.
I've heard,
now
I've heard
what-
black sheep.
Yeah, totally.
Black sheep with AG.
But I think like he's far enough away where maybe he just doesn't get any of that.
Yeah, and
you know?
I'm far away, and I think Life Center's had that rap for a long time too.
You think
where-
so?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you're like AG, but not really known.
I think everybody knows Life Center.
Yeah.
I think everybody loves you guys.
I would
I think
agree with
you're
that.
you're a very likable. I mean, we've met in passing probably 7 times. This is the first time we've actually had like real conversation.
Yeah.
And you're a very likable leader from afar and very respectable. So
Thanks, man.
That's
I
really,
appreciate
really
that.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's call it.
Okay.
Thank you guys for joining us this week on Pastors Unfiltered. I'm just here to worship. Cole's here to just make Jesus famous.
That's right.
Come on, we are Venture. We miss you, Pastor Brandon, Pastor Di.
That's right.
Send them a "We love you, we miss you"
Handwritten.
notice, email, handwritten.
Handwritten only.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
handwrite it and scan it over, maybe if you have to. If you can't, I don't have stamps.
We do.
I don't even know how to write an address on
If
there.
you write a letter, bring it to the church, and we'll stamp it for you. How about that?
Cole will have Audrey stamp it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, church, come on, let's make Jesus famous. We love you. We'll see you here next week in church and on Pastors Unfiltered. God bless.